All right, let's bring in Jim Pfaff. Jim is the live in Washington, D.C. Jim is the president chairman of the Conservative Caucus in D.C. Before we get to Jim, this segment is brought to you by Patriot Mobile and our good friend Glenn Story. Had a great event last night. Glenn, sorry I missed it. If you're listening, I'm out here in Indianapolis by the state capitol trying to get these 26 votes so we can win 2 seats. 2 will get you 20. But I tell you what, I run my entire company. I got 3 phones. 2 of them are here, right here. Here's 2. The other one, right over there. I got 3 phones. All of them on Patriot Mobile. All of them. Why? Because I get the best service for the best price. I mean, I run 26 radio stations. I run a media company, all on phones, all powered by Patriot Mobile. Great people, great service. And all you got to do to switch over to save money, it's so easy. All you have to do is go to patriotmobile.com, patriotmobile.com, promo code Godzilla. You're going to get 2 things. $35 activation fee gone, and you're going to get 2 for 1. What, 2 phones for 1? No, it's a BOGO. You get 2 carriers for the price of 1. You pick the 2 you want. Like I got Verizon and AT&T. Now, here's what happens. When I drive around, right, AT&T's got 1 bar, Verizon has 4. It switches automatically, or vice versa. I don't have to do anything. So I got 5 bars all the time when I'm in any cell phone range based on what carrier I have, right? That's what Patriot Mobile does. You just got to call them, right? Or go to patriotmobile.com, or just give them a call, 1-800-PATRIOT, 1-800-PATRIOT. Just call Patriot Mobile, and you're good to go. You can speak to a real person, but the best thing to do is go right online, patriotmobile.com, patriotmobile.com. Tell them John sent you. Use promo code Godzilla. Get the $35 off. And I'm sorry, the phone number, 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT. Sorry, 972-PATRIOT. You can put that up. And promo code Godzilla going to get you the 2 for 1 deal. And Glenn Story, a great visionary, 972-PATRIOT. Everything is done over the cloud. There's no tweezers, no SIM cards. It takes about 20 minutes to switch over. And a portion of whatever they make goes to Christian conservative causes. I don't know where the AT&T money goes. I know where my money goes with Patriot Mobile. All right, let's bring Jim Pfaff in. Jim Pfaff, Phill, Kline. Jim, I'm in Indiana. I've been here for a couple weeks. We got this vote coming up. You're from Indiana. You're a Hoosier. Go Hoosiers. How are we going to get to 26 votes, Jim?
By the way, you said I'm in D.C. I'm just down the road here in Bloomington, Indiana, at my house.
Well, why aren't you here?
I didn't know you were there. Trust me, I'm on the board of American Family Association of Indiana.
How far are you from Indianapolis?
Well, about 55 minutes.
Get in your car and drive down tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I'll send you the address.
Cool.
Get up early and come here with me on the bus.
Cool. Send the address.
You got it.
Listen, one of the main things I try to tell people about Indiana is that we all understand how corrupt, and particularly we're seeing it in Minnesota, Democrat states can be. There's no doubt about it. When you have unanimous Democrat control, corruption happens. This happens sometimes in Republican states too, and Indiana is an example. I mean, there are legislators who are going to be voting on this bill in the Senate, whom I helped get elected in the 1990s. And some of them, I don't know if they're going to vote right. And I've been bugging them about it. But here's the thing. The Indiana Chamber of Commerce, this is a really good example of how a Chamber of Commerce can totally screw things up. I mean, I've never been a fan of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The Indiana Chamber of Commerce is even worse. Remember, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce was working to defeat Donald Trump in 2020. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of that, but there's a Time magazine article where they were working with union organizations to defeat Donald Trump. So this tends to be a problem. And so the Indiana Chamber of Commerce really is disgusted by what Donald Trump stands for. They hate the social issues, but they also are always working in the state legislature to take care of getting money for their cronies. I mean, that is part of this, the dynamic that is here. Roderick Bray, the numbers that I'm hearing, Roderick Bray, the Senate president, only has 2 votes to get to pass this. So if he's a real leader, a real Republican leader at all, That's an easy job to get. You give people committee assignments, you give them whatever you need to, and say that we got to make this happen. But there's no indication yet that
Phill,
he's going to put the hammer down.
Phill, he's on the other side. Rod Bray is leading the fight.
Yes.
To defeat the redistricting, and the leadership that he's showing is he's promising people committee assignments if they vote no. I mean, he's doing the opposite.
I'm totally aware of that.
Working for basically the Democratic Party of Indiana. I mean, it's bizarre.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, Eric Holcomb, the former governor prior to Mike Braun, whom I've known for 25 years, he had been the chief of staff for John Hostetler, one of the hero conservatives that we've had in the past. And he was one of the worst lockdown governors there were. This is a Chamber of Commerce issue. These people are not committed in the least to conservative ideals, to Republican ideals, to constitutional ideals. And so
Jim,
David McIntosh of Club for Growth tweeted out recently that they're coming after you. I'm coming after you, Roderick Bray. And our organization is going to be committed to doing exactly the same thing, because we need to take a stand with these Republicans who are not Republicans at all, because they don't even believe in the Republican ideals that mostly are what America was founded upon. So it's that everyone in Indiana needs to make sure that they're all in force, calling the state legislature and tell them we're not going to put up with it. The people of Indiana are pro-Trump, by the way. They're going against their own constituents in a Republican state. It's crazy.
Go ahead, Professor Kline.
Yeah, Jim I wish I had a bell to ring. His point about the Chamber of Commerce needs to be repeated across the nation. The Republican Party lost the business community because they started playing the game of using regulation to hurt their competitors and using governmental power to line pockets. That's been going on for some time. Now, Trump is leveraging some of the union support away from the Democratic Party, and hopefully this shift continues. But the United States Chamber of Commerce has become a big government program, supporting big government candidates and opposed to the Republican Party effort, and particularly to Trump. And Jim is absolutely right. They are protectors of the status quo and the flow of money to the people who fund them. And voters have to wake up to that. You have to take those Chamber of Commerce vote for cards and rip them up. You have to get engaged and decide for yourself, because they are misleading the public and they are supporting the wrong people on issues.
And the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is wedded to the old system that brought us into $38 trillion of debt. The corporatism. Right. Listen, I want corporations to thrive. I believe in a free market system that allows business at every level to be able to go in, do something, go out with a great idea, work hard at it, and make as much money as you want. And I don't care if it's a large or small corporation. The problem we have in this country with the Republican Party in recent years that Democrats have doubled down on is to give special favors to large institutions. One of the worst things that we did in this country was bail out the big banks during the financial crisis in 2008 with that TARP program. We gave $800 billion to big banks at the same time that the FDIC was closing down small banks all over the country, saying that they weren't properly capitalized, and which was a farce. And I know this because I knew some people who were connected to what was going on in that system in small banks. And it was so funny because banks at that time, they stopped making loans. They were being responsible. They were just working off their current balance sheet and weathering the storm. But the FDIC would swoop in, shut down a small bank, give it to a medium or large size bank, literally just unilaterally with no recompense, no rule of law, you couldn't even go and challenge it. And we had 14,000 charter banks prior to 2008. We have about 4,000 today. And most of those closures were caused by government favoring big banks over small banks. And it's not just banks, it's large corporations all around. We have a regulatory capture in Washington, D.C. that Donald Trump has been fighting against, that where these big organizations in effect run the regulators, and they drive out competition. This happens with the FDA. One of the worst things is big pharma utilizing FDA, and no small person, no small corporation with a great idea
Can't do it.
and can come in and do anything. And that these are just a small amount of the examples. And this is one of the things that Donald Trump can do to inspire the American people, is to push back on these things in the same terms that I'm talking about now.
Well, we're getting the
absolutely.
we're getting the opposite though, Phil, aren't we? Because every time I turn
Well,
around, he's in there with the tech big billionaire tech bros.
Well, he's taking on the administrative state, John. He has 531 lawsuits right now against him. 531 on his executive orders on firing people within the administrative state, seizing power in the administrative state away from this eternal class of bureaucrats that's playing favorites and causing wealth shifts like Jim is talking about. What Congress needs to do is ratify what the president is doing in this battle. They can vote on it, and in these lawsuits, they would become moot if Congress would endorse some of the agenda that Trump is doing in gaining control of the executive branch and the administrative state. So he is engaged in that battle. But Jim is absolutely right. The business community left quite some time ago, and they burn dollar bills to save pennies. They want to save money in their lifetime, make themselves rich, and they trade off the future. And they've been doing it for a long time. And Congress has been in league with them, and the president is fighting that. And the United States Chamber has been captured. The Business Roundtable has been captured. Those groups have turned away basic fundamental principles of hoarding entrepreneurship in the United States. And they support candidates that...
I was going to say, when I was working with Phil's and my mutual friend Tim Hillscamp as a former Kansas congressman, the greatest problem that we had working against Tim, it was the Chamber of Commerce people, and it was the large ag concerns. And Phil knows this very well, being from Kansas. You look at the cattle people and the Farm Bureau in Kansas too. They were constantly working against Tim. I want to tell people a quick story. They may not know how the FDA started. This exemplifies the problem that Phil and I are describing. The FDA was started because the Heinz Corporation was making a load of money off ketchup. They had figured out how to deal with their tomato leftovers and their other canning businesses that they were doing. And they were making so much money off of ketchup that a lot of small players started coming in and taking away some of the business. They were just local concerns, and they were making money now too, but Heinz saw a threat to their business. You know what they did? They went and convinced Teddy Roosevelt that these people were not up to safety standards and proper food standards. They were even claiming that many of these ketchup manufacturers that were competing against them were putting sawdust. I mean, they came up, actually it was just throw anything in the kitchen sink against the wall so it'll stick. And they convinced Teddy Roosevelt to create the Food and Drug Administration to shut down their competition. That's literally how the Food and Drug Administration was started. And that entire attitude is something that large corporations have been working to repeat in government agencies ever since. And
That's
this
right.
is one of the untold stories of corporatism in this country. We are roughly
Well, if you tell me that story,
but we've really taken a lot of that away.
I'm never eating Heinz ketchup again. What ketchup people here? Ryan, what ketchup should we get rid of that Heinz in there? What ketchup?
There's a lot. There's a long list, John. There's a long list.
Yeah.
And Jim, when I was chairman of the House Tax Committee in Kansas, we proposed significant tax cuts. The opponents, the Kansas Chamber of Commerce, and the local chambers. And I remember saying, look, I'm going to go to your membership. I have their lists, and I'm going to know. I will mail them directly. And then they flipped. They do not support their membership agenda. And I think people ought to consider leaving the chambers of commerce and forming another organization. That's true all across the board with these alphabet groups that are in there to consolidate their power, consolidate the wealth of their primary contributors. They're not looking out for the average citizen. That's where Trump needs to go on messaging. That's where he needs to live. And he needs to get back there.
And he'll keep the union voters. He will get right to the middle class voter if he can keep that message true. By the way, John, you talked about the tech bros, and there's no doubt we got to keep our eyes on that. But actually, interestingly, too, that's not the worst problem we've got with corporatism right now. The worst problem is in many other areas of the economy, particularly the bankers is a big one, and big pharma. Those are the two worst corporatism problems that we've got in this country. And one of the biggest reasons we can't get rid of the Federal Reserve is what's called fractional reserve banking, which gets supported by the Federal Reserve, where every dollar that you put out into a bank goes out in $10 of loans. Why? Because the Federal Reserve brings money into the big banks so that they can go make those loans in part. And this is the type of thing that we really need to keep our eye on, because if we cannot change a lot of this and start getting on a path to correction during Donald Trump's term, we're going to be in a worse situation than we were before Donald Trump came on the scene in 2016. There's no doubt about it. Everything's at stake. And what Phil's talking about in changing up the way that these elections are done. This is another problem, is you've got the Republican National Committee. They're all about the contractors who do the media and they always make sure that these people get their cut in campaigns. They urge the congressional candidates who are new, and they might even be very altruistic and desirous to do something good, but then they get connected into the NRCC, and then the media guy comes in and listen, you got to do media, you got to run ads. There's no doubt about it. That's part of campaigns. But what you really have to do is build grassroots networks. One of the reasons I came to get to know Phill Kline and became close friends with Tim Huelskamp and eventually worked for him was I was brought in 2005 by Tim to run the marriage amendment. Focus on the Family encouraged him to hire me. And one of the things that Tim wanted to do with that marriage amendment, they knew it could pass, but they wanted to do it in an off year to try to show people we can rally the troops on key issues that matter to them. We more than doubled statewide turnout, average turnout in an off year election. This was 20 years ago this year. A statewide turnout in an off year election like that was about 17.8%. We brought it up to 39.5% just by going out and working the grassroots. The Republican Party doesn't work the grassroots because they don't message to normal folks. They message to big corporations that Democrats really have a greater stranglehold on than them right now. But they keep going after that, and rather than getting to average people and the issues that matter to them. Donald Trump broke that problem, and Republicans have not been the same since, but they can easily revert back to it if we don't push.
How are we going to get to 26 votes here
in Indiana?
Mm-hmm.
Massive turnout if people would just go up to that state capitol and protest and tell them what they want. They should want this too. Right next door in Illinois, you've got at least 9 districts that are gerrymandered into Cook County that can never become Republican districts. And 2 of those districts, interestingly, come from southern Cook County and southern Chicago, Southside Chicago, and snake all the way down almost to Carbondale, Illinois, almost halfway down the state. One of those is, I think it still is Jesse Jackson Jr.'s district. I mean, it literally goes from the south side of Chicago almost to Carbondale, Illinois. It takes in a massive amount of low population rural and has nothing to do with Chicago at all. This is how serious Democrats have been in this redistricting. And Republicans need to understand that if we don't counter it, it was like, it would be great if we could draw districts with the whole community interest concept, which is something I think is really important. But you can't anymore because Democrats have thrown that out the window.
I could care less about you. I don't care about community involvement and what this. I want Republican gerrymandering out the wazoo. This is what they do. This is what we have to do. If I get another person telling me about protecting democracy and good governance, I'm going to lose my mind. Okay?
No.
You're fighting a communist Marxist takeover of this country.
Right.
And they are fighting. Go to the Rotunda on Monday, 350 people there. 375, 350 of them, Democrat operatives, signs, yelling, screaming. Our side, 10. Count them, 10. You can't win. You have got to get involved.
Well, there's
and look,
you're right, John. And there's one.
You got the final word, Phill. Go ahead.
Well, there's one good thing about a weak Republican. They operate out of fear. So if you frighten them by showing up, they'll change their vote.
Yes.
On that note, Phill Kline, word of wisdom, right? Use their cowardice against them. I'll vote for you if I'm the 27th vote. I still can't get that out of my mind. I couldn't sleep last night. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why are you here? I got another guy up there crying about, what am I going to tell my grandchildren? I didn't vote. I didn't stand up for democracy. I'm like, well, what are you going to tell them, Greg Wright, when you're eating out of a garbage can because the communists took over and you have no food and you're part of that? What are you going to tell them then, Greg? Get out of my face. All right, guys, thank you for being with us. Morgan Griffith next.